Presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm Sam Litzinger. Author Michael Wolff's sensational book on President Trump's administration is the top seller online. That's according to information released by Amazon and Barnes & Noble, which each reported that hardcovers of Fire and Fury now stand at number one. They're also out of stock, with Amazon advising that shipment might take a month. CBS News correspondent Margaret Brennan says Mr. Trump apparently doesn't like the book or one of his former advisors.
The president's lawyers unsuccessfully tried to stop its publication by serving the author and the book publisher legal notice after excerpts leaked earlier this week. Today on Twitter, the president attacked his former ally Bannon, calling him, quote, sloppy Steve.
He'd earlier said Steve Bannon had lost his mind. Despite calls from some people to do it, Twitter says it will not ban President Trump's tweets. Here's CBS News correspondent Allison Keyes.
The social media network never mentions President Trump's name, but it says it reviews tweets by leaders within the political context that defines them and enforces its rules accordingly. We work hard, said Twitter in a statement, to remain unbiased with the public interest in mind. It says elected world leaders play a critical role in the global public conversation because of their outsized impact on society.
The FBI is investigating allegations of corruption connected to the Clinton Foundation while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. The investigation said to be looking at whether the foundation accepted donations in exchange for political favors. President Trump's been urging an investigation into corruption allegations. Gee, it's cold in Boston.
Very cold. I can't feel my nose.
Cold in Wisconsin, too.
Some people like the cold, but not me. I'm getting sick of it. Yes, sir.
It's all part of a winter deep freeze that's got a hold of much of the country, all the way down to Florida. Strong winds and record-breaking cold air sweeping from the mid-Atlantic to New England. Forecasters say they'll hang around through the weekend, too. Wind chill could make it feel like minus 35 in western Massachusetts. Add them together, and tonight's Mega Millions lottery jackpot is about $450 million. And tomorrow night's Powerball is about $570 million. KCBS TV reporter Candace Crone in Torrance, California says that has some people dreaming big.
Customers told us they specifically came to Three Kings Liquor Store because everywhere you look, there are winning tickets and scratchers on the walls. They're hoping the good luck rubs off.
This is a store has always been a winning store.
Mary, are you feeling lucky? No. Some might not feel the good vibes, but say it's worth the chance when $1 billion is at stake.
On Wall Street, the Dow gained 221 points. The NASDAQ gained 59 points. This is CBS News.
Presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Find a location at buffalowildwings.com.
A family destroyed in a deadly street racing crash this afternoon. I'll have the details coming up, but first, a look at how it's affecting your drive. Here's Cairo Radio, real-time traffic.
And they don't have to have that roadway reopened much before 6 o'clock, so you're going to have to avoid that. That's Pack Highway South and Dash Point Road for drivers in Federal Way. All right, let's take a look at the Tacoma Drive because we have some slow traffic on South 95 between Highway 18 and the Dome. It's a little bit busier getting out of Lakewood. As a matter of fact, just as you get out towards Thorn Lane, you're going to find some slowing and some heavier traffic out near Mounts Road. There will be some road work tonight on South 95 at Mounts Road as well. You'll see those lane restrictions go into place later on this evening. The Valley Freeway is still going to find a lot more brake lights for those of you that are trying to get out of Algona Pacific up to 410, 512, and busy around the South Hill Mall. As for the Seattle Drive, well, the rain really made a mess, and that northbound 405 drive is a bumper to bumper, leaving 520 now all the way up to State Route 527. DOT reporting nothing to be blocking in that direction. However, it is just miserable, making that real-time travel time from Bellevue now heading into Everett at 75 minutes. Your Seattle to Everett drive right now is sitting at about a little over an hour. Traffic brought to you by the TJ Martell Foundation. That in the fight against leukemia, cancer, and AIDS, your support helps facilitate the cutting-edge research that will lead to...
There was a woman on Jason Ranch show this morning. Her name is Monique Valenzuela Trundowski, and she's running to be the Washington State Republican Party chair. And Mr. Rance was kind enough to ask her about some of my criticisms of the party. So we'll see what she said about that. And then Costco showing some great Seattle spirit. Proud of them. Get to all of that in mere seconds. Right now, we'll check traffic with Right Way Traffic.
Truck was killed. His toddler and infant both in car seats. They are now in critical condition. His wife was in that truck as well. She was hurt. driver of the white sedan was not seriously injured. The body of a convicted killer found in the trunk of a car at a Lakewood wrecking yard. Neighbors tell Cairo 7 they'd seen that car on their street Wednesday before it was impounded.
It's shocking that it just showed up on our neighbor's literal front door.
The victim is believed to be a 49-year-old man from Roy. Tracy Semmel was convicted of first-degree manslaughter back in 1991. He punched a man during a pool hall fight and killed him. Still no word yet on how he wound up dead in the trunk of that car. The man who murdered and dismembered a Renton mother of 3 has been sentenced to nearly 28 years in prison today. Cairo 7's Deborah Horn was in the courtroom for the sentencing of John Charlton.
Everybody, it does appear, felt that he should get more time in prison than the law allowed, but the judge said she could do no more than give him the high end of the standard range, which was 333 months. The judge, Julie Spector, even said that if she could, she would sentence him to life in prison.
Cook Aquaculture is suing to try and keep their Port Angeles salmon farm from being closed by the state. The Commissioner of Public Lands revoked the company's permit, citing maintenance and other concerns. But Cook tells the Seattle Times they think the commissioner has other motives. Last summer, another of Cook's facilities fell apart, allowing more than 160,000 invasive Atlantic salmon to be released into Puget Sound. A look at your forecast now. We're in for a rainy weekend. We could see a little bit of break in that rain late Saturday. Highs will be in the mid to upper 40s. Right now, it's 50 degrees in Seattle. I'm Kim Shepard.
On demand with the Cairo Radio app. Cairo Radio News, 97.3 FM. This is the Ron and Don Show on Cairo Radio, 97.3 FM, Seattle's Seahawks station.
All right, here we come with tonight's Top 5 at 5. It's brought to you by Heritage Distilling, batch number 12. That's the one. Hey, someone is going to win a $75 gift card for Beardsley Public House and Brewery in Boston. That's a Chef John Howie's 10-barrel craft brewery featuring scratch casual comfort food. I've said that perfectly all week. I have not stumbled. Who you trust? Say that.
I just said it. Scratch casual comfort food. Scratch casual comfort food.
Say Heritage Distilling, batch number 12 vodka. Beardsley Public House and Brewery in Bothell. Chef John Howie's 10-barrel craft brewery featuring scratch casual comfort food.
Scratch 12 vodka.
See,
Here's the Public House. Craft barrel brewery.
Not easy.
Scratch casual.
Who can't read? Who can't read now?
Ron and Don's Top 5 at 5.
Number 1.
Let's talk about distracted drivers. State Patrol, and it's our poll question today, and as we head into the evening, have you been pulled over by a police officer? Were you given a distracted driving ticket? And what has kind of been your response to this? Because State Patrol says this week, and other agencies said they're going to start cracking down because close to 500 people in Washington State in the last 3.5 years have died due to distracted driving.
Yeah, this is Bellevue Police, and they're like, hey, our warning season is over.
One of our officers in a single hour issued 14 tickets yesterday. This was during the evening rush hour, and so that's a pretty shocking number to hear that many folks that were still not getting the message and were on their phones.
That's Seth Tyler from Bellevue PD, and he said, even when you're at the light and the light is red, that's not text time.
Just a reminder, it is now illegal to hold any electronic device while you're driving, which also includes while you're stopped at a light. We've all been behind those drivers that the light turns green, car sits there. That means that all the cars behind them have to wait.
Oh man, I got in trouble the other day.
Oh, what
I
happened?
thought I was behind that guy, so I did the honk honk like I told you.
Right.
And there was actually a pedestrian in the crosswalk, and there was a cop that was directing traffic, so he stopped me, and he's like, why were you honking? He's like, I didn't see the pedestrian. He's like, he gave me the real tisk look, and he's like, go on, get out of here.
All right.
What are people getting these tickets?
Yeah. What do we got? What are we hearing, Kim?
From Mike, he said, yep, my phone fell out of the holster. Do you call it a holder or a holster?
Holster's on your waistband.
I don't know, I kind of like it when you call it a holster.
Holster's what you put your gun in, I'm pretty sure.
All right, well, his holster is what he calls it.
Wow.
He said, my phone fell out of the holster. I was putting it back in at a stoplight and swiping through the app just out of habit because he had picked it up. He said, I got pulled over, and the officer said, sorry, this is the way it is now.
Wow. How about that? Paul says when the word gets out that it negatively impacts your insurance rates, then I believe you'll start to see fewer distracted drivers. I didn't know. Tracy, is that true? Is it going to, if you get a distracted driving ticket, is that considered a moving violation and it could beat up your insurance
It's
rate?
under the DUI umbrella, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that I think is a little harsh.
Yeah. Abby says, I know someone who did. It was actually ridiculous. She was sitting at a light next to an officer and waved at him and smiled, and then he pulled her over and said she looked at her phone when she never did. How can they prove that you were using your phone or not? We were talking about this earlier. I think they're probably, it seems like some people that have reached out to us, if you actually go to court on this $134 ticket, $137 ticket, then if you can bring your phone records, then maybe the judge will throw that out.
Yeah, I think this whole thing is the biggest reason why we should have like the automated driving. So you just sit there, text all you want, driverless cars, be on your Instagram, and let the car do the driving.
Yeah. Marion says, I drive for a delivery service, but I have my phone on a vent magnet. I guess you just stick in your car vent.
That's what I had.
I do have to respond to dispatch calls, but I have hands-free. I also have buttons on my steering wheel to answer calls and hang up. Any texting I do is with one touch to respond to my dispatch for the next delivery. The phone never leaves the magnet. However, because I'm driving all day and can't stop for food, I pack food and I drink to have during slow times when I'm pulled over waiting for another dispatch order. Also, if I get a ticket, we can submit them to our company, but they only pay for one every 50 deliveries.
Does this law also do the you can't have beverages?
Yeah, it's distracted driving. Mustache wax is on there, any grooming.
So if I go to a drive-through and I get a beverage, I could get pulled over for drinking that beverage?
It depends on if it is,
if it's in your hand, you will be fine.
Open, something along those lines, yes.
Oh. So are we telling me to lean over to
Real
the
long
cup holder
straw.
with a straw?
Real long
I
straw.
know somebody that can make that for you.
Here from the 206, I Tinder and drive all the time. Swipe, swipe, swipe.
Oh. Kevin writes, do you guys get this? I think of it like the no-look scene in Too Fast and Too Furious between Paul Walker and Eva Mendes, except Eva Mendes is a phone.
I have
Does that make sense?
Seen any of the Fast and the Furious
This is
franchise.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
I haven't seen any of the
Anybody?
Not me.
Sean, you're not a Too Fast, Too Furious guy, are you?
I have not seen any of those movies.
I did want to see the one in Cuba.
I am proud of you.
I wanted to see the one in Cuba because they were talking about that.
What else?
I got one from Josh.
Yeah.
He said, I got a warning about distracted driving just yesterday. I talked to the officer and admitted, I was texting, but I was at a stoplight. I'm sorry. He was about to write the ticket, and then I explained I was very nervous because I was texting my ex at the time, and now I have to explain to my current girlfriend I got pulled over for texting while driving.
Oh.
Which leads to that conversation.
Just double down and lie again.
What do you do? What are you really doing?
When I'm driving?
Yeah.
I put my phone in the cup holder because my magnet thing doesn't work on the new case. And I don't know if I've done it this week, but I've definitely grabbed my phone for map. Like if I have a map set up, I hold it in my hand.
Nope.
Because it's easier. I don't have a mount.
What do you think of that, Tracy Taylor?
Okay, one, let's clarify something real quick.
Okay.
If you are drinking your coffee while you are driving, you will not be pulled over. Okay. If you're distracted, it's like a secondary offense, basically. They have to see the phone in the hand, but if you are also eating, drinking, makeup, blah, 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 you can also.
Officers are the most distracted people I've ever seen, though. They have a computer right by the steering wheel. Every time an officer goes by, they're driving with their knee, they got a cup of coffee, they're hitting the overheads to get by construction, so they get up the street to meet the other guys at Starbucks. Has ever happened to you out here in East Lake? You see an officer hit the overheads. They're not supposed to. They go by all this construction, and then I'm trying to get up to Starbucks, where, I'll admit I go there every once in a while, and then I see an officer sitting there with two other cops. I'm like, really?
You got
I wish I had some overheads.
Everybody
I would, if I was a police officer, I would abuse that. I would abuse that power constantly. I'd hit those overheads all the time.
Out of everyone you know, I have.
Will pocket their share of big cash and prizes every single Monday. Find all the details at HalelaCasino.com.
Sunny in the morning.
It's one of those days where you're 10 minutes late before you even walk out the door.
Tracy Taylor in the afternoon.
90 is starting to really slow down coming off of Mercer Island.
Traffic on the 3s on Cairo Radio 97.3 FM.
My mom's joints ached constantly. My daughter and I for weight loss surgery outcomes in the Northwest.
We had our gastric bypass on the same day. Yeah, we've lost a combined 205 pounds. Can you believe it?
Find out more at our free physician-led seminar. Go to franciscanweightloss.org for dates. CHI Franciscan, Northwest Healthy.
From new equipment and training to community outreach, the Seattle Police Foundation has been...
Say there's this huge...
Voters went out of their way to help us get the van that we needed, and they made it painless. Friends recommended that we do business here, and I will pass on that same recommendation to others. Thanks for all your help. Thanks for the recommendation. And you may have heard about their low prices. So don't miss the Dave Smith Motors Start Something New event happening right now.
Good advice, Michael, because even though we may disagree on some issues, we both refer and recommend Dave Smith Motors to friends, family, and our radio fans. Just like Dave Smith customers refer their friends and family. Choose from over 1,500 new Chryslers, Dodge, Jeeps, and Rams, all during their Start Something New event. Call 800-635-8000 or davesmith.com. And remember your complimentary shuttle from the Spokane Airport. This is Seattle's home of Rush Limbaugh. Weekdays 9 to noon on AM 770 KTTH. Conservative Talk Radio. You're listening to The Todd Herman Show, live and local on AM 770 KTTH, Conservative Talk Radio.
Down, man. Congratulations on filling in again for Mr. Limbaugh. We, your listeners, have seen this portion of your career, but I don't believe I've ever heard you discuss how this all got started, or how you ended up doing radio in the first place. I think I'd find that very interesting. I'm a young guy and looking for my direction in life. Not a chance I can do well on the radio, and then I get nervous speaking to my mom and dad, but I'm always inspired by how people like you got their start. Maybe you would share that on a personal note one night. Regards, Brian. Brian, thanks for the note. I appreciate that. Well, I guess it started by being fascinated with radio. It started in my dad's car, listening to Paul Harvey. And now, you know, the rest of the story. I mean, you're probably too young, Brian, to remember him, but he was probably the finest storyteller on the radio of our time, or of my time. I'm older than you. And it started with thinking, wow, people can do that and get paid. And then it became a fascination with music radio, and I had the great fortune to create a lifelong friendship and brothership with my dearest friend Matthew, and his dad, Gary, is a brilliant radio man, now retired. So I got to be around professional radio people and to hear professional radio created. Ultimately, what happened to me is that I did what a lot of people do. Don't do this, Brian. I did the thing that was safe in radio. I got into sales, and it's a great way to earn a living, right? I am blessed to have a great sales team that sells the ads for the show and the sponsorships for the show. But there's a difference between being a good talker, good presenter, good strategist, and a good salesperson. It's really hard for someone like me to be a good salesperson, follow up with detail, etc. That wasn't where I was going to succeed. But I went down to San Francisco, and I got to go sell at one of the great big FM stations, biggest, in fact, at the time, K101. And I got to work around a guy who was a radio legend named Don Blue. And Don did a morning show there and earned millions of bucks a year. They brought him in through a limo, and one morning we were at a remote, a stupid thing at a car lot, and I was involved in selling this in this event. And Don was supposed to get into a bathtub of beans or something. He and I got into an on-air argument, and I gave as good as I got on this AC station program for women 25 to 54, playing Kenny Loggins, etc. And he said after this, he goes, kid, whatever you're doing in sales, it's not where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be on the air. Well, it's nice to hear. How do you make that happen? So eventually I got this all figured out and realized that I wanted to be on the air. So believe it or not, Brian, you know what I did? Is at the time I was a songwriter. and played music and sang. And so I got my 4-track recorder out, and I created tapes where I was both the host and the caller. So sometimes you hear me do voices on the show. Well, that's not an accident, because I used to do those when I made these tapes, and it was kind of a way of showing myself I could do it, and kind of saying, could I really be a talk show host? And there's big talker down there, KGO, big talker, all sorts of local stuff. And I'd listen to the local guys and go, wow, they get to do this on this big talker. So I did this. I moved home to Spokane. And this is at a really horrible, horrible time in my life for a reason I don't talk about on the air, and I won't. But I moved home, and I rented a room in my mom's basement. That was embarrassing. And I went around, and I was a salesperson for a little while, didn't do a great job because I was really focused on being a talk show host. I finally, through a friend of mine, met a guy named Tom Cock. And Tom owned a small, tiny little radio station, and he is a genius of revenue. He kept that thing afloat, and I got to do 2 sample radio shows, Halloween night and the night after. We made a deal, business deal. Business deal was I would get to keep, I think we started with 35% of the revenue I sold, and 50% of what I sold, 35% of what they sold on my show. So I was incentivized to sell. And we did that, and I set my sights on, A, becoming famous, which kind of I did by becoming infamous in a way, and I regret it. I regret the way I approached the radio show. But it worked, and I got all sorts of attention, and I set my sights tactically, and also from a perspective of being a conservative, and this needed to be done, of removing Tom Foley from office. And the polls at the end of this race showed that my radio show had a huge effect, and enough of an effect to help take Tom Foley out of office. After that, I got a phone call of a lifetime. A guy named Brian Jennings, who sort of takes credit for inventing the conservative radio format. He started one of our competitors in town, in fact, our main competitor, and he started that movement. Brian called me. I'll never forget the phone call. I was at home, phone rang, picked it up. Is this Todd Herman? Yeah. This is Brian Jennings. I think your show is hot. I'd like to bring you down to Salt Lake City to do talk radio. There it was. Went down and ended up with a 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. morning show. From there, life got very weird. I mean, we did that for a few years. The station did very, very well in time spent listening. We were kind of a young version of talk radio, and it was fun. But I had more in mind, technology. I wanted to start companies and get into tech, and I did that for a number of years. But Brian, I never stopped dreaming of talk radio. Never. So having made some money, having put some money aside, having had a great company that was operating at the time, BuzzPod.com, putting off a lot of cash, my friend Chris Widener, who's a public speaker and an author, found out that AM 770 KTTH was hiring an afternoon person. We submitted a tape. The program director said, hey, it's okay, you guys aren't ready for prime time yet, and they hired Ben Shapiro. And I became a fill-in for Ben, partly with my friend Chris, who then wanted to go back and write books and speak publicly for a living, which is what he does and does very well at. So I became a solo act. After that, that's history. We ended up here. How did I get on Rush's show? Some of his people came to town and they liked what you and I built together. And yeah, when the program director brought me into his office and they sat me down, he said, question for you. Do you have any interest in filling in for Rush Limbaugh? For the first time in my life, I was truly speechless. I was truly speechless. But the weird thing was, I'd had a premonition, hand to God, that someone from a national syndicator was in town listening to me. Isn't that strange? This is the Todd Herman Show. We every weekday, 3 to 6 p.m. I'll see you Monday at 3 o'clock. Be well, be strong, and be kind.
Talk about Ovation Cell Therapy for 5 years now, about how thick and strong.
Who are most worried about Donald Trump.
Weekdays, noon to 3.
Isn't it necessary when the president is doing something that is emphatically right, that advances the interests of liberty and decency and peace in the world at large, to show him some support?
On AM 770 KTTH.
Because what is going on in Iran right now is historic. The president is exactly right on this Iran issue.
Conservative Talk Radio.
From new equipment and training to community outreach, the Seattle Police Foundation has been supporting local officers for more than 15 years.
Amidst all the rhetoric that they have to hear, the foundation is able to say, there's this huge community out there, and here are our voices, in that we support you, we appreciate everything that you do, your courage, that you go out and regardless, protect and serve.
They funded more than 275 grant requests, from training for bike cops to maintaining the mounted patrol. The foundation president Laura Mather says lately the requests have been changing a bit,
turning more from equipment desires to community engagement activities. You know, like coffee with a cop, and these guys have big hearts, so we need the community support. Everything that we do does come from the community funding. We really don't have any government type funding whatsoever.
And that's why we're proud to partner with the Seattle Seahawks, Carter Subaru, and 3010 Weight Loss for Life in honoring the Seattle Police Foundation as our charity of the month. You can learn more at mynorthwest.com.
Casino, the biggest and best in the Northwest.
Have you noticed a lot more men smiling around town? Universal Men's Clinic has treated thousands of patients. That's thousands of happy men who have a greater zest for life. If you don't have the energy, stamina, or strength like you used to, or having problems in the bedroom, you could be our next happy patient. Call us at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit universalmensclinic.com. A $199 office visit may get you smiling too.
I'm Charles Arakaki, a doctor at the Universal Men's Clinic and a happy patient. I was feeling old and I thought it was my demanding lifestyle. I started feeling loss of energy and stamina. Having treated thousands of patients with low energy and sex drive and seeing them improve, it hit me. My symptoms were similar to my patients. With the modern medicine at Universal Men's Clinic, I'm now enjoying a renewed quality of life.
Call us at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit universalmensclinic.com.
Don't let that burst pipe give you the blues. When that sink stops up, don't be sad. Call Beacon Plumbing, Heating, and Mechanical. I'm Bobby Wagner. Stop freaking. Call Beacon at 1-800-FREAKIN.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Zillow.
I'm Sam Litzinger. Millions of people around the country must be wondering if spring will ever come. We're seeing record cold temperatures as far south as Florida. CBS News correspondent Dean Reynolds.
5 degrees above zero is brisk, but 5 degrees with a breeze is brutal.
It like bites your skin a little bit when you get outside.
Anyone outdoors was facing polar gusts blowing across the northern tier and deep into the Midwest. Wind chills were nothing to sneeze at.
Really, really cold. Just like ice.
It's colder in Cleveland than Greenland. Colder in Minneapolis than Murmansk. Numbs the word in North Dakota.
I want to go back to Texas.
And forecasters say the chill's going to last through the weekend. Some relief coming next week. President Trump has some meetings scheduled this weekend.
We're going to Camp David with a lot of the great Republican senators, and we're making America great again.
The goal is to make Republican plans for legislation in 2018. Mr. Trump has said he wants infrastructure spending to be at the top of the list. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is defending President Trump's fitness for office after a bombshell new book called into doubt his mental health. Tillerson says he has no reason to question his boss's mental fitness. Tillerson's office last year denied reports he'd referred to Mr. Trump as a moron after a national security meeting. Mr. Trump is denouncing Michael Wolff's book Fire and Fury as phony and full of lies. He apparently believes it's a depiction of Steve Bannon and has vented his anger about his former aide. 26 states, including California, are now seeing high levels of flu. KCBS reporter Matt Bigler.
So far this season, there have been at least 17 flu deaths here in California, including a 1-year-old baby who succumbed to the virus in San Diego. San Mateo County Communicable Disease Controller Dr. David Chang says their emergency rooms have been very busy the last couple of weeks.
We are seeing that this is occurring a little bit earlier than it did last year.
Everyone is urged to take the usual precautions, including getting a flu shot, washing hands, and covering your cough. Last year was the worst influenza season in a decade here, and medical experts say this year may surpass that. Matt Bigler for CBS News, San Jose.
Tonight, the Mega Millions lottery drawings for about $450 million. Tomorrow night's Powerball, about $570 million.
Some people are buying bunches of tickets.
10 Powerball, 10 Mega, 20 total.
But for others, they say if it's meant to be,
They don't have to buy a whole lot. If it's for you, one ticket's enough, you know.
But both these massive jackpots have people dreaming big.
Probably buy my own island.
Dave Cohen for CBS News, New Orleans.
The Dow up 221 points. This is CBS News.
Presented by Zillow. Discover millions of...
And fellow radio host Michael Bedford to share another Dave Smith Motors customer experience.
Thank you, Dave. And here's a Dave Smith customer who wanted to thank his Dave Smith representative with an online review. He writes, "First, I'd like to thank Ruxin. I've bought a lot of vehicles in my time, only to get worn out and beaten up by dealers. This doesn't happen at Dave Smith. They bend backwards to find you the vehicle that will fit your needs. I work for the Boeing Company, and I'll be passing along my positive experience I had purchasing my new truck. Great job to you, Ruxin, and to all your staff. And you may have heard about their low prices."
Even though we may disagree on some issues, we both refer and recommend Dave Smith Motors to friends, family, and our radio fans. Just like Dave Smith customers refer their friends and family to Dave Smith Motors. Find out why Dave Smith Motors is consistently the largest dealer in the Northwest, selling new GMCs, Chevys, and Buicks. Just call 800-635-8000 or davesmiths.com. And remember, your complimentary shuttle from the Spokane Airport.
Hey, it's Todd Herman, and we've heard from listeners in Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, and the greater East Side. Sometimes all you hear is this. Well, not anymore. You can now hear KTTH on the FM dial at 94.5 FM across Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, and the greater East Side. Everywhere else, stick to AM 770 or use the KTTH smartphone app powered by batteries plus volts. But if you're in Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, and the greater East Side, listen to us at 94.5 FM.
Business Network. Americans getting a boost on Main Street and Wall Street. The economy adding 148,000 jobs in December. Below expectations, but still the 87th straight month of gains. The unemployment rate hovering just above 4%. Keep in mind, when President Trump took office, it was just below 5%. And it looks like the assembly lines are going to stay busy for a while. Factory orders rising in November for the 4th straight month. We saw more demand for transportation and electrical equipment. Still a lot of demand for stocks in the first week of the new year. The Dow, NASDAQ, S&P 500, all punching solid gains. Meantime, drivers aren't getting a break at the pump, at least right now. The national average for regular unleaded gas rising again this week. We're now at about $2.49 a gallon. But a lot of you still aren't flying in the middle of the winter freeze gripping much of the nation. FlightAware saying around 6,000 flights have been canceled over the past couple of days due to that massive storm surrounding the south and the east with so much snow and cold. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Neil Cavuto.
I have some auditing and forecasting for you two robo accounts. You have it done Friday?
Usually goes for $16, now has more than $10 of tax added on. But don't worry, the Seattle store has a sign explaining that new tax and suggesting their shoppers could buy the same product at their locations in Tukwila and Shoreline without that extra $10 tacked on. A look at your forecast now. We're in for a rainy weekend. The possibility of a break in that rain late on Saturday. Highs will be in the mid-upper 40s this weekend. Right now, it's 50 degrees in Seattle. I'm Kim Shepard.
On demand with the Cairo Radio app. Cairo Radio News, 97.3 FM. This is the Ron and Don Show on Cairo Radio, 97.3 FM. Seattle's Seahawks station.
All right, thanks for stopping by the final hour this week on a Friday. Then Zach Burns stops by, so make sure you listen tonight to Zach and the guys.
Hello, everybody.
We will make America great again.
Call 866-A-LARS. That's 866-A-LARS to speak your mind. Now, First Amendment Friday with Lars Larson.
Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. Glad to be with you on a First Amendment Friday, and glad to get your phone calls and your emails. If you want to jump into the best conversation in talk journalism, it's right here. And on Fridays, we open up the lines to everyone, not just naysayers, but if you think a subject has not been broached on this program that should be, why, dial me up right now at 866-HEY-LARS. That's 866-439-5277. Emails go to talk@larslarson.com. Can you believe that questions like this are being asked in the White House briefing room.
Should Americans be concerned about the president's mental fitness, that he appears to be speaking so lightly about threats regarding nuclear weapons?
I think the president and the people of this country should be concerned about the mental fitness of the leader of North Korea.
What's the president's reaction to the growing number of suggestions, both in this book and in the media, that he's mentally unfit to serve as president?
The same way we have when it's been asked before that it's disgraceful and laughable. If he was unfit, he probably wouldn't be sitting there.
What precipitated the president's tweet about threatening to withhold future U.S. aid?
Pakistan is not fulfilling its obligations. The president is simply following through on a commitment that he made.
Now, here's what I want you to imagine. The book is called Fire and Fury. Michael Wolff, who is the author of that book, who's now going to make a pile of money because he's now the #1 book on Amazon right now. He is selling books like hotcakes. They're actually running out of the books. Am I going to go spend my money on that book? No, I don't want to put a dime in this guy's pocket. Michael Wolff has a history, and I put a few things about this on my Facebook page at The Lars Larson Show, but he has a terrible history with the truth. Yes, some of the things he says may be true, but yes, some of those things may be made up in whole. And who's the first person to admit that? Well, the Washington Times reports Michael Wolff, author of Fire and Fury, has said that everything he writes is not necessarily true. In the prologue to the book, Wolff writes, many of the accounts of what happened in the Trump White House are in conflict with one another. Many, in Trumpian fashion, are boldly untrue. These conflicts and that looseness with the truth, if not with reality itself, are an elemental thread of this book. In other words, take it with a grain of salt, what you read. Now, I read that statement from his book yesterday when this first discussion began. Should we have national level reporters asking the president's spokeswoman, is the president sane? Is he in his right mind? Because they say that a book by an author who has a history of playing fast and loose with the truth, who admits in the prologue to his own book that the account he writes is in conflict with itself, and that some of it is boldly untrue, should we be basing our evaluations of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America based on a book that is that much fiction? I don't think so. Anyway, it's First Amendment Friday. You want to jump into the conversation? It's 8